up, I might not be able to stay on here.
All right, let's get going. February setting the month up call. So, as of last month, as of this year, we're doing our trainings and these calls a little bit differently because number one, accountability is really important. So, I want to take this time, the first call of the month, to really set our month up to focus on what it is that we want to accomplish this month, setting out our goals, um, really following the Growth Chronicles and putting our plans in place so we have a more higher probability of success in a lot of areas. So I'm going to share my screen and I'd love to, in the comments, when this posts, I would really love to hear how your January went. How did the organizing go? How did your step challenge go? Let's have a discussion in there. Let's start and see, how we did, where we can make changes this month, because without some modification, without some, evaluation, it's hard to make changes. And so this is all about growth in all areas. So in February, we are scroll down here. So February is all about like stretching, right? And stretching yourself, stretching ourselves. Um, and I really want you to focus this month on like your firsts, right? So how many firsts can you experience, or how many firsts do you notice that you are experiencing? And this isn't about like getting out of your comfort zone, but it's really looking at, embracing those new challenges. So I'd love for all of us to create like a 90-day bucket list. Um, doesn't have to be these grand, these grandiose things. But it really is meant to stretch, right? It's meant to get us out of the old habits and into new ways of seeing things, new experiences, new ways of doing things, really pushing ourselves to new levels. So that's something fun to work on, is creating your 90-day bucket list. And, this goes into more detail here in the Growth Chronicles. This month, organizing space is the kitchen. I mentioned last month, right, that I put these in here selfishly because I want to become more organized. And if I have to be honest, I didn't get much of my office organized last month. And so I have double duty to get that done and work on the kitchen this month. So I put as always, some new habits needed to really keep an organized kitchen, right? And some tips that might help. And then I've broken it up into weeks. When we break down and break up our tasks into more manageable areas, more manageable sections, it makes it easier. It makes it more doable. It lets us recognize, hey, we don't have to do it all at once, right? Organizing your space doesn't have to be done all at once, but sometimes in our brains, that's what it feels like, right? Getting out of debt, that doesn't happen all at once. It's a process that you go through after building your plan, after breaking it down into steps that you follow over and over and over to then be able to reach that goal. You guys know I always say it's not about the outcomes, it's about the process in which you use to get there, right? That's the most important part. And so part of your process is really breaking things down into more manageable areas. This also helps get rid of some of the excuses of, hey, I don't have time, right? And so when you put this into your calendar, which is why I didn't get my office organized last month, is because I didn't put it into my calendar. So um, putting it into your calendar is step number one. And then I've broken it up again into weeks. This month in our health journey, it's again about stretching, right? I think stretching is often very overlooked, right? And so I think we all know that stretching is good for us, but we tend to only do it like maybe when we hit the gym or before we go for a run. We don't really think of it as warming our bodies up, of getting the blood moving, of preparing for the day or preparing for bedtime. So, our February challenge is to print out or write down, right, some easy morning and nighttime stretches to keep your body um, healthy, but to prepare. So, waking up first thing in the morning, how do you stretch to get the blood moving, right? And then at night, stretching to move the energy through. And another part of it is really stretching every hour while you're sitting at your desk. I know many of us sit a lot, and stretching throughout the day is really important for circulation, for brain health, for all the things. So, those are the two pieces of the February challenge for stretching, right? Printing out and doing some morning and night stretches, and stretching at least a couple of times a day. Every hour might be challenging, but at least a couple of times throughout the day. Something new for this month, I've added in a weather tracker and a mood tracker. And this is important again because tracking data, collecting the data is really important to our health, right? And there is a lot of research that goes along with what's the weather like? Are we active? And, then how does our mood play along with that? Right. And so I just thought it might be kind of fun to put in a weather tracker. You can fill out the parts and pieces that you want to, so you could name it depending on what area you're in. You can get as detailed as you want, but just a fun little piece here. And then similarly with your mood. This is really, really important. One thing I didn't put in here that I would encourage you to do is put the day, right? So today's the 3rd, so I would put, first, second, third, fourth, label them so you can track it. So important for a lot of different reasons, but when you can go back and when you start to see cycles, right, it gives you more information to then take to your doctor if that's what's necessary. Change eating habits, recognize, the weather, does it have a huge correlation with your mood? Like what's really going on? So tracking these can be a really important piece to your overall mental health. And it's good data to have. Are you going to start to notice trends after 1 month? Maybe, but really it's about building the consistency in to see it over and over and over. These are kind of fun. Again, all the journal prompts, a journal prompt one for every day of the month. So one thing I'm working on is journaling every day and really taking these prompts. And it doesn't have to be this, again, this big long old thing. Sometimes it's just a quick moment of giving yourself a chance to think about the question, think about the prompt, and then maybe later on is when you journal about it, right? There's so much research that goes into journaling and mental health and even like business growth, financial health. The people that are continually like journaling and taking note of what's going on and tracking their moods, like really getting deep into what's happening and what's in their brain and getting it out of their brain and on paper, the correlation between financial wealth, um, healthy bodies is really it's outstanding. Like it's unbelievable. So journaling is something that I'm working to be more consistent in as well. So got all their journal prompts in here. Got our abundance activation affirmations in here as always. I always put in between about 5 and 10 each month. And then our gratitude journal is in here as well. I want to mention next week on the 10th, We do have a special guest speaker coming. His name is Jason, and he is really going to educate us on what's he going to educate us on? Let me find my notes. Now I've forgotten. I want to make sure. Yeah. Um, living benefits insurance and how living benefits insurance can potentially be a benefit to us, who it's a good fit for, maybe who doesn't need it. But Jason Hansen, that's next Monday, same time, 5:30 Mountain Time, 6:30 Central. And, it's not about, working with him. It's not about me endorsing him either, but it's really about me bringing people in that are what I would consider an expert in their field, in their area. And so he's really going to talk to us specifically about living benefits insurance. This, has really been, and I'll let him go into more detail, but really we used to think of, like long-term disability or long-term care insurance as a thing. And while long-term care insurance is a thing, it's kind of been replaced with this living benefits insurance, right? And so a lot of companies aren't necessarily writing policies for, long-term care anymore. So it's going to be interesting to hear from him. So make sure you guys come next Monday, February 10th. So with the new Growth Chronicles and with these new pieces, the Growth Chronicles are focused ultimately on, a lot of different areas, but they're not necessarily there's not necessarily a huge focus on just financial in there. And I think I've mentioned this before, but I want to reiterate it, that money touches all parts of our lives. And if we're not, healthy, like healthy bodies, if we don't have healthy minds, if our mindset is struggling, it's going to overflow into other areas. And because money touches all areas of our life and everything is so intertwined, it's really important to work on clearing the clutter. It's important on being more healthy. It's important to focus on, getting your steps and walking and stretching and drinking your water and all of those things, right? Because ultimately, when our bodies are feeling better, our minds are feeling better, our finances are oftentimes going to look better, right? And you'll see a lot that people are like, I go to the gym to relieve stress. But what happens is it's not relieving the actual financial stress that you're experiencing. It relieves some of the mental stress, but you come back home and the numbers are still the numbers, right? And so we want to hit this from like all sides. I want you guys, I want to be, healthy in as many areas, as many aspects of life as possible. So that's really the goal, here. So while it is the front runners and while we do focus on money, we're bringing in these other parts, right? To focus on not just the money, but building healthy selves. What else did I want to mention tonight? I'm bringing back the games. We did not have a game in January, but I'm bringing back the games. I do anticipate a couple of new members coming in the next month or so, so that's going to be exciting. I'd love for you guys, welcome them. You know, participate. I always say participate more. If you'd like to see something different, never hesitate to reach out and, share your thoughts. What could be improved? What do you like? What don't you like? But keep an eye out for games coming up. If you haven't seen already, I mentioned this before, but I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. Because there's a couple of new features you've probably seen this, but if you haven't, the events calendar is really handy now because I can put in events and make changes and adjustments You guys can go, you can change, it gives you an option, right? What calendar you typically use. And then you can add it to your calendar, right? And so this is a great way to not have to search for the links every Monday, but just put it in your calendar so it makes it easy to reference. I like to do that so I don't double book myself, right? Putting it in your regular calendar that you use all the time helps to prevent double booking. And sometimes it's just that gentle reminder. Sometimes we have supper time, we're getting home from work, life it gets crazy. And I don't know how many times I've done it, a lot, where I'm like, shoot, that call started 30 minutes ago and I completely forgot about it. And it's because it wasn't in my regular calendar. So don't rely on your email, don't rely on the calendar in here. Go ahead and add it to your normal calendar. So same days each month. I've got several in here so you can register ahead of time. And then you're going to notice I'm going to do some updating into the left-hand side of your screen, your navigation bar over here. I'm going to be adding some channels and, making some adjustments because it's a new year, right? And we're doing different types of trainings and everything. So if you haven't checked out and go back through, I think this Your Created Life series, I really think it's phenomenal. I'm just noticing now I'm going to make myself a note because I need to make some adjustments in how they're labeled in here. They're not necessarily specifically in order, but if you watch them, the replays in order, they all kind of tie in and they make a little bit more sense. So I'll make myself a note to go in and let number one, number two, number three, and so forth. So you kind of watch them in order. As always, guest speakers, the recordings, I put mention of them in here. The recordings do end up going on to YouTube. I want to give a quick shout out to Steve as well. If you haven't watched his live with me, check him out. Check out his book on Amazon. It really is great. He is extremely knowledgeable, really down to earth guy, breaks things down in a really fantastic way. And so I just want to highlight him again. He's got a great community as well. So I'm going to put those links in there so you guys can access him a little bit more, but look him up on Facebook. So just a quick shout out to Steve tonight. And remember, over in the discussion and questions area, right? Feel free. This is where questions and discussions can get started. If it's not on a specific post, you can come in here and just create one, right? If you've got questions, thoughts, concerns, something that you want help to walk through, post it in here. Get other people's opinions, right? Also, don't forget your one-on-one sessions with me each month. You each get a 30-minute one-to-one session each month, and those can be really powerful to help, navigate specific questions that you don't want to put out to the community. Just help on, what's my next step, Sarah, right? You're kind of stuck in an area, finances or not, book that call and take advantage of that. So that's a quick breakdown. Also, the leaderboard, we need to get some more leaders up here, right? And you become and get on the leaderboard by commenting, by posting. So the more active you are, the more leaders that we will have in here. And then there are rewards. Hint, hint, there's a lot of ways to win some prizes and get recognized in the community. So questions? All right. So I just appreciate you all. Appreciate you being here. If you're watching, I appreciate you. Comment below in the community how your organizing for January went, how your office organization went. Comment how your step challenge went. What did you notice? Did you follow through? Did you not? Listen, there's no judgment. I've already said I wasn't super great on either of those in the month of January. But it's recognition, right? It's recognizing some of the places that we fell a little short so we can then make some adjustments going forward. So here's to February. Let's get excited. It's a short month, right? Those 2 days do make a difference though. So let's get after it, write our 90-day bucket list, and get going on a nice February 2025.